On the hill up here, y'all may or may not have seen it. It was on the right as you went by, before you turned down here to come down here, was the old plantation house. It was built in the early 1850s, probably about 1852, by a man named Mr. James Jackson. Mr. James Jackson owned the plantation at that time, and it was about 800 acres. He was farming. It went from here all the way to the Oconee River. And that house being built in 1852 means that it was here during the what war?
Civil
War. It was here during the
Oh, so we're going to that.
It was here during the Civil War. And when Sherman, y'all know who Sherman was?
Yeah.
When he came through Georgia, y'all always heard his march to the sea. When he came through Georgia, part of his troops, I think it was the right wing, came down through Macon, almost to Macon. He got scared. He didn't go to Macon, but he came through Grizzleville, through Gordon, to McIntyre, and headed this way to Toomsboro. When he got to Toomsboro, which is that little town down there, he was going to try to cross the river at Ball's Ferry, but he met some resistance from Georgia Military Academy. They had some soldiers there. They had pulled some soldiers from the Georgia Military Academy, which right now I think is stationed in Millersville, GMC. And they had the Georgia Military Academy and some paroled convicts. Were all they could muster up to keep Sherman from crossing the river. And they prevailed.
Wow.
They pushed them back, they prevailed. Sherman found another place to cross the river, and he outflanked them, and finally he ran them away. But it took a lot to outflank them. And his men came up this very road, up Highway 112, the road you came on. Actually, there's a piece of that road still visible. Right there near the old house we're fixing to go to, there's a little dirt road called Jackson, I think called Jackson Lane. And it was the road that was there back in the early 1800s. It is shown on the 1806 property map. That very road is there today. That is the same road that those soldiers marched down. Now, this house, Susan's nephew did a little bit of research on it and found out that there was a house that was used by Sherman, and it was listed as being 2 miles north of Toomsboro as a safe house and as a hospital. And that house is exactly 2 miles north of Toomsboro.
Wow.
Now, Sherman made a habit, and it was what he did, that any structure that he used, he wouldn't burn down. The house is still there. So that had to be the house that he used. And legend has it that 17 people died in that house. 17 people.
Maybe their ghosts will come get us.
Maybe they will. But 17 people allegedly died in that house.
Hey, y'all, listen.
Yeah.
Have you ever had ghost actions up there? Like any?
We'll get that in a minute.
Yay.
17 people allegedly died in that house. Probably some of those wounded soldiers died there, because how else can 17 people die? I mean, there probably some family members died, of course, but it was used by the Southerners and the Northerners as a place of refuge, as a place of a hospital. And 17 people died in that house. Now, over the years, the house and the land was left to Mr. Pittman Jackson, which happens to be my wife's granddad. Pittman Jackson and his wife, and we call her Gran, because that was her grandmother, so they called her Gran. And has become the name of the house, is the Grans. And Susan's grandmother would come down and visit with her, and sometimes Mr. and Miss Jackson, that was Susan's mom and daddy, would go off to somewhere, and Susan would have to go up there and stay with her at the house. And they would sit on the front porch, and she said that one of her favorite things they would do was sit there and rock and talk, and they would have a cup of coffee and have toast, and you would dip your toast into coffee and eat your toast. You ever done that?
Disgusting.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Probably
But when the sun started going down, Gran would get up and say, "Come on, we need to go inside." So they would go inside, go to her bedroom. She would shut and lock the doors. And my wife, which was the granddaughter of Gran, who grew up in that white house on this side of the street, said, "Gran, why do you do that?" She said, "Honey, when the sun goes down, I don't leave this bedroom." She said, "Why?" He said, "Because I hear things." She said, "Like what?" She said, I hear people walking upstairs. And every now and then the piano would play.
Oh no, that's good.
And she said, "Well, Gran, why don't you leave? Why don't you move?" She said, "This is my home. Where else would I go?" So she lived in that house. Every night when the sun goes down, she boarded up herself in that bedroom by herself. There happened to be a bathroom in the bedroom area, so she could stay there all night. And she had a little dog with her. And that's what she did every night. She would shut that door, would not go out into that house when the sun went down. Now, Susan has a brother. His name is Johnny. He lives on the property on the other side of the road. His name is Johnny. So if I say Johnny, it's Susan's brother. One day, he was in the house. He went in the back door and he heard the commode flush. He said, "Nobody's supposed to be here." So he goes to that bathroom, which is adjoining Gran's bedroom, and looks in the commode, and the water's bubbling up like somebody just flushed the commode. And while he was standing there perplexed, looking at the commode, he hears the front door open and slam shut. So he goes to the front door, and it's chained. It is still chained up. So how could that be? The chain is moving. Where somebody just went out the front door with a chain on. True story now. Mr. Jackson is a preacher man. Right now he's the preacher of McIntyre Baptist Church. And he swears this for the truth. This actually happened in that house right up there. He said him and a couple of friends, when he was in high school, maybe a little after, were going to try to spend the night in that house. Gran had become aged, and I think they had taken her to an old folks home, so it was kind of empty. And they were in that house going to try to spend the night. And he swears this for the truth. He was in the upstairs bedroom, laying in the bed, covers pulled up to his chin. And in this bedroom, you could see a window to his left and a window to his feet that faced the highway. And he was looking, and he saw a shadow go across this bedroom, this window over here. And he looked, and there was a tree out there. He said, "Well, maybe that was just that tree." So he looked, and I said, that had to be what it was. Couldn't be anything else. The limbs of that tree moving. And in a minute, he saw it go by the front of the other window. Now he was on the second floor now of this house. And he saw the shadow go across the window at his feet. Now he pulls the cover up to his chin. He says, "You needed to hear him tell this story. I wish he was here." And as he's telling the story, the creature comes back and steps through the window. And he tells this for the truth. Now he is so scared he can't move. He can't speak. He can't do anything. And the creature walks over to the bed and bends down at him like this. He said, "I can feel his breath." He said, "Suddenly I got the nerve and I jumped out of that bed, and in 2 steps I was out in that bedroom, and in 2 more steps I was down the stairs, out the front door, and he ran all the way home." And he said, never stayed in that house again from that point on. True story. From a pastor who said that actually happened to him in this house. Now, there was a slave quarter
Well, we're
house.
sticking together.
There was a slave house that was still standing. It's not standing today. I wish it was. It was a tenant house. They called it a tenant house, but it was a house built for slaves on down the road there. And a man named Punk lived in that house, and he was the guy who helped Mr. Jackson. And one day he was sitting on his front porch, and he lived probably nearly a quarter mile away, on down toward the swamp, down toward the river, and he saw what looked like fireworks popping above the house. He said, "Look at that! There's nobody there. There's somebody shooting fireworks in the front yard." And as he was watching the fireworks, and they were playing this day. Other people saw this. A ball would go up and it would just glow. Another ball would come up and it would just be a big glow, not booming and sparkling. And in a minute, he saw this old car come out of the driveway and headed toward him. A 1930s model car. And on the running board of that car was a woman. And it happened to be the daughter of Susan's great-grandparents. He said, I recognized who that was. It was, he called her name. I'll think of it in a minute, gosh, I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember her name. Something liquor. Blue Liquor?
Yo.
I think her name was Blue Liquor. And she had been killed in an accident down in Toomsboro when a boiler blew up down sometime in the late 1800s. He said she was on the running board of that car, and it suddenly turned and went through the field, and it just kind of just disappeared in the grass. He said, I can't explain it. It just went away. But he swears that was the truth. He saw that. So I wasn't there. Who knows? But I do believe the preacher man. I do believe he saw something. I do believe he felt something. So we're going to go up there.
Yeehaw!
We're going to walk through it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if each adult is here to make sure they're not trying to do something.
Y'all,
But every one of them is here.
you might. There might
Okay,
be some others.
I designated
Y'all might be
you,
going. I
Dave.
don't know
I
if I go.
designated go.
I'm sitting with Davis.